Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies. First aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Today on CityCast Philly. Philly Music Fest starts this week. 7 nights of music from 23 Philly bands and artists. I'm sitting down with Greg Seltzer, founder and producer of the festival, to talk about who we need to check out, listen to some music, and find out how do you keep a music festival running for 8 years. It's Monday, October 21st. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Greg, welcome to CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Greg, this lineup is jam-packed with 23 bands, all ranging from rock, hip-hop, bluegrass, and jazz. Can you just explain to me what the tagline means? Our genre is Philly.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this festival is super unique. It's unique in many respects. It's unique because it's a nonprofit and proceeds are going to kids' music education. But it's unique really up front with the bands because all of the bands that we've booked for the last 8 years are from Philadelphia or lived in Philadelphia for formative years or identify with Philadelphia as their home geography. So what that allows us to do is in a programming and curating the festival booking, our genre is a geography instead of a genre and flavor of music. So whatever's happening in the streets, whatever happening in our venues and our basements, that's percolating up to our stages for Philly Music Fest. So that's why you see hip hop juxtaposed with funk and jazz and punk and bluegrass and singer-songwriter, because that's all that's happening in Philly. So most music festivals are genre specific. Ours is actually geographic specific.
Okay, I understand. So as the organizer, do you make it out to all these shows?
Yes. The only way Philly Music Fest works is if it's a DIY production by my wife and I, Jen. And the reason I say the only reason it works is because Philly Music Fest is a nonprofit music festival, which is exceedingly rare in the U.S. So what that means is we pay the bands properly. We get the independent venues that host all the show paid very well. And then we're left with profit after donations, ticket sales, and the like. And then what most music festivals do is they take that profit and they divide it amongst the for-profit owners of the festival, large corporations, payments to government in respect of taxes. We don't take any money from the festival. So that leftover profit amount, that net proceeds profit amount, gets donated back to kids' music education so that the kids right now who've had public funding for music education cut, they get good after school and weekend programming. Those are the kids that are going to be on our stages in 5 or 6 years.
Well, speaking of kids, this kind of took me back when I saw the lineup. On the bill is Angelo Outlaw. I actually grew up with Angelo. We went to middle school and high school together. So it just felt so good to see someone that you know on the lineup. So who are you most interested in seeing perform this year?
That's really cool that you know Angelo and you grew up with him. I love that story. I want people in our community to see friends and family and friends of friends on these stages. Angelo is so talented. I love that show. That's going to be a jazz-oriented show. Angelo, for your listeners, is a really talented vibraphonist and multi-instrumentalist jazz musician. He's opening for Marshall Allen. If people don't know Marshall Allen, please come out to that show and see Marshall Allen. He is 100 years old. He is a saxophone player that dates back to John Coltrane and Miles Davis. He's lived in the Germantown section of Philly since the late 50s. He is an absolute legend. I am not rounding up. He's not 96, and I'm just saying he's 100.
Wow.
He is 100 years old.
Still
and
playing.
And he will blow the saxophone on stage, and you will be mesmerized. And Angelo's opening for Marshall Allen. So really, really excited for that. That's at Solar Myth, which is a jazz club in South Philly. So who am I excited for? I mean, look, Amos Lee plays stadiums around the country. He's a Philly kid.
Sweet pea, apple of my eye. Don't know when and I don't know why. You're the only reason I keep on coming home. Sweet pea, what's all
He's playing World Cafe Live, which is probably the smallest venue he's played in 7-8 years. Slaughter Beach Dog is a really cool Fishtown band. They are, I guess I would describe them as like singer-songwriter indie Americana.
1, 2, 3, 4. Gotta get out of Ohio, feeling short on time. Eyeball your inheritance, dead stare at the bar.
Incredibly young audience. We had to make that show all ages because a lot of the audience is kind of sub 21. Really excited for that show. I would also say there's a really cool lineup at Milk Boy on Friday, October 25th. And one thing that you were talking about, the genre, if you go to a lot of shows in Philly, if you go to a show where, let's say the headliner is the Wonder Years or the Menzingers, which is, I would call that pop punk, most curators would have a national pop punk band. And then the first support would be kind of a decently known pop punk band. And then the opener is going to be an emerging pop punk band. And it's like, well, you're coming to a pop punk show, so I guess you love pop punk, and I'm going to feed you 3 of the same bands in the same that sound the same. What we do is mix it up. So if you look at that Milk Boy show, you have a pretty straightforward indie rock, young indie rock band called Queasy. And then you have 2 performers, Reef the Lost Cause, which is probably one of our whole city's favorite DIY underground rappers and hip hop artists in Philly. Reef's on that bill with Kufnats and Christina Lease, who plays the harp. Super, super cool and distinct. And then the headliner is a ska band, which is kind of a mash between punk and reggae. So you come out to that show alone, you're getting rock, hip hop, and ska all in one night. And I would say that kind of exemplifies our genre as Philly.
That is amazing. More on Philly Music Fest after the break.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Greg, you are a corporate lawyer. How did this corporate lawyer get into running a music festival?
It's a good question. Look, I mean, I've been a lawyer for 20 years and I was a CPA before that. And those experiences honestly gave me a lot of experience and fuel to start something like this. I probably, without that background, could not have cut corners and known enough myself to get this off the ground. But how it really started was this city, I'm born and raised in this city. I went to law school at Temple and undergrad at Penn State. I have been passionate about music. It's helped me through tough times, great times and tough times for 48 years of my life. So I want this city to have a thriving music community and a music scene. And when I looked at it, this is 8-10 years ago, we had Made in America for a beat. We had Firefly for a beat. Those are done. So I started this, 8 years ago. This was at one venue, 2 nights. It was very, very small, and it was moderately successful in year one. But we've grown it each year. And the reason we can grow it each year is because we're not out for a profit. We're not out to make money. We really stick to our 3 core missions of get the musicians paid, get the venues paid, donate the money to music education. So that's what we do. And it's honestly made our lives a lot easier. We don't deal with food vending. We do this indoor at music clubs. So we're not building stages outside and worrying about weather. So we've really kind of dialed this concept in this business model, which definitely is derived a little bit from my professional experience as a corporate lawyer, to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, this is the 8th year, and I can't imagine that it's been an easy 8 years. You mentioned some of the challenges, but why do you keep doing it?
It's a tough question. This is the way I would answer that question in 2 ways. One, and most importantly, I think, is inward looking. And the second one is outward looking. If I looked inward and asked myself why I keep doing this, it's because I love it. I don't know if I can curse on this podcast, so I didn't, but I effing love doing it. I don't do this year round. If I did this year round, I think it would be pretty taxing on me. It's a tough business, as you probably know, in the media and entertainment space. It's a grind. I get the pleasure, I get the privilege of doing this 1 week a year. So for 51 weeks, I can prepare for 1 week. So if this was year round, I would probably that would take a toll. But honestly, I love doing it. I don't care that we don't make any money. I love the fact that it's a nonprofit. So that's number one, inward looking. Just absolutely love doing it. And just, as a fan, as a music fan, I'm usually on the front of the stage. I'm usually out in the audience. So for 1 week a year, I get to kind of be behind it, and it's kind of cool, and I love it. But outward looking is really the reason we do it. I mean, getting this funding to programs like Beyond the Bars, Rock to the Future, Play on Philly, and going out to those shows and watching the teachers and the instruction of kids that are trying to access music education as an outlet in their community. Where do they learn? I mean, they can learn in their school, their public school, but that funding's been cut dramatically. So they have to kind of find their way. If they're lucky enough to have parents that are supportive, maybe they can sign them up for one of these programs that we support. So the reason we do this is to get the money to the kids and make sure that we have a thriving music community of young people frankly, for generations. The second kind of footnote to that is we're raising the money by having these shows. We can't raise the money without the shows. So a byproduct of raising the money is that we get to have 7 shows and get to feature some awesome Philly bands and promote them. And I think it's pretty cool that we can both have people experiencing the music, but also having the proceeds of their investment and their ticket price go to the next generation.
Now, you did kind of describe earlier, kind of like the music scene right now in Philly, but I mean, is it thriving? What are some of the needs of our city's creative community?
It's a perfectly stated question. I'm going to go back and listen to how you phrase that question because it's so perfect.
It's part of my magic.
Yeah, because it's a smart question because the answer is it thriving? Yes. But I try to, if you can envision or your listeners can envision kind of a wheel with spokes, and the middle of the wheel is our talent, our musicians. If you look around the country, I think Philly, in terms of bands, actual just bands and musicians, can rival any city in this country, including Nashville, including Austin, including Chicago, right? New York and LA, great business and industry centers, but not a lot of musicians because it's so darn expensive to live there. So they're living in other communities, and Philly is producing, some of them move away, which is fine, but Philly is producing an insane amount of talent. So that's the middle. And I think our middle is as strong as most music scenes in the country. What we lack is the institutional and infrastructure around the wheel, around the middle, the spokes. And when we talk about spokes, we talk about managers, very important to bands early on, booking agents, record labels, studios, engineers.
So professional people to take the artists, the band to the next levels.
Exactly. We don't have enough music industry in Philly. We have talent. So what we've been trying to do, and I partnered up with WXPN, a public radio station in Philly, is we started this series called Inside Hustle. I started it in 2019. And what it is a free music information and networking event. We did it once a year on the Saturday of Philly Music Fest. The next one is coming up this Friday, October 26th at Rec Philly in Center City. And what it is you come out and you just network with people in those expert areas around the spokes, in the spokes. So PR, record labels, engineering, managers, agents, booking, radio, everything kind of around that. We have a podcasting table actually this year for music podcasts. And that has been super, super important because my thesis is I'm going to keep doing the thing to promote the bands and get money to the kids, but we need the infrastructure. We need the community built around the music to, as you said, lift them up. So that would be my answer to the question of like, yes, we're thriving, but we need to do better on the periphery.
We'll get there. Greg, are there any like hacks or any like advice, etiquette that you can give to someone if it's their first experience at the Philly Music Fest?
The main hack that we have, which is on a t-shirt this year,
okay,
but it's never miss the opening band. That is the hack to Philly Music Fest. Because you will see, there's a band called Mount Joy. Mount Joy was a Philly band. They played Philly Music Fest in 2020 as a non-headliner. If you skip the opening bands, you would not have seen Mount Joy in 2020. And Mount Joy just sold out Madison Square Garden in late September of this year. So you need to come to Philly Music Fest and you need to go see those opening bands because those are going to be the stars in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And you're going to be like, yo, I saw that band. I saw them upstairs at Milk Boy with 150 people, and now they're playing the Met. That's crazy. And so that's the hack for Philly Music Fest. Never miss the opening band.
I love it. Greg Seltzer, founder and producer of Philly Music Fest. Thank you so much for talking with me on CityCast Philly.
My pleasure. It was super, super great. I appreciate it.
Let's go out on a little music from the fest. Here are the Tisberries performing Saturday night at Underground Arts with When Love Knocks You Down.
You shot through the moon and you're losing your mind. This providence was promised by fools, and you've been jaded by the rich and the cruel. So if you're locked in the silence on an ocean of violence and those tears you...
Check out those bands and the whole lineup at Philly Music Fest. We've got the link in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Aren't you just so excited to hear all this music? If you enjoyed this episode about Philly Music Fest, text your friends and get those tickets. Also, rate our show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.